This video is sponsored by Normandy 1998, Ash and Team Valor. Hey everyone, happy April Fools! To celebrate, I'm repeating the tradition from last year, and using this holiday to dabble in a series I've never covered before, specifically the one I floated in last year's April Fool's special, Kingdom Hearts. This is a story I've wanted to see covered for years, since it's something that could very easily have happened in canon if one decision had been different. Also, before people start saying, but Roxas did beat Riku, he said so when he fought Sora, I would have to respectfully disagree, as while he was winning up until that point, the moment the blindfold came off, he got clapped. Now, if anyone is still here after that inflammatory remark, I'd like to ask that you like the video, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel, since currently, in what is a very appropriate number for Kingdom Hearts content, less than 13% of my viewers are subscribed. So come on, help me beat the darkness by subscribing today. Though, with that said, let's get on to the story of what if Roxas beat Riku. Our story begins during the climax of 358 over 2 days, during the fight with Roxas and Riku. Despite his best efforts, Riku cannot seem to defeat the Nobody, with his strength and endurance being pushed to its very limit. Briefly, the silver-haired boy considers removing his blindfold, a drastic decision which may change him forever, as it would force him to become handsome once again. Though before he can lay his hands on the black bindings, he considers the consequences such an act could have. Not just for him, but for everyone. What is the point of reawakening Sora if he runs the risk of also reviving the piece of Ansem lying dormant in his own heart? No, there must be another way. Mind made up, Riku makes the painful decision to retreat, promising his best friend that he will still save him. He just needs more time. So for now, Sora will have to stay asleep. Baffled by this sudden exit, Roxas furiously demands to know what Riku's doing, assuming it's the setup for another ambush. Though upon receiving no response or indication the other boy is even still here, he resumes his original heading, the castle that never was. Naturally, this would mean another confrontation with Saïx, who has been ordered by Xemnas to retrieve Roxas. Though refusing to go quietly, the Nobody of Sora would not hold back this time, destroying Saïx once and for all, and officially declaring his defection from the organization. As a result of this, he would then have to battle his way up the castle, facing countless lesser nobodies, as well as the likes of Zoldan, Demyx, and Luxord, all of whom he could more than likely beat if he can handle Riku and Saïx. As for Xigbar, I believe he'd put on the show of a fight, but seeing this organization is doomed, he'd ultimately make a tactical retreat, feigning defeat to watch events play out from afar. Finally, Roxas would make it to the man himself, Xemnas. And while power scaling in Kingdom Hearts is iffy, I believe he'd be able to defeat him for two reasons. The first is that this is a Xemnas who has not yet merged with Kingdom Hearts, meaning he is far from the peak of his power, with this Xemnas likely being equivalent to the Dream Drop distance Xemnas Sora fought in the world that never was, since it would be around this time that young xehanort scooped him up and sent him to the future, whereas Roxas is arguably at the pinnacle of his own strength, having gained experience from these last few fights to make him stronger than in canon, which is saying something as his canon self was already stronger than late KH2 Sora, who was able to fight Kingdom Hearts absorbed Xemnas alongside Riku. The second and most crucial reason is that there's no way Axel wouldn't help his best friend, likely joining him after the Saïx fight, as at that point there's no chance of Roxas rejoining the organization, and with Saïx gone, he has no ties to them either. Combined, Axel and Roxas would most likely be able to overcome Xemnas, much as Sora and Riku did, and while a hard-fought battle, it would result in the superior of the In-Between's destruction, and the chance Roxas has been waiting for, to free Kingdom Hearts and honor the dying wish of someone he can no longer remember. From here, Roxas' goal would be simple: learn more about who he is and where he comes from, with an opportunity for both coming in the form of Mickey, who on Yen Sid's order would approach the two nobodies and invite them to the mysterious tower, as the old master is intrigued by Roxas' wielding of the keyblade, despite being a nobody. As they go, Mickey would tell Roxas about Sora, though having recognized the similarity between Roxas and Ventus, Mickey would also question if he has any memories of Ven, which could help locate him. Unfortunately, here Roxas would have to disappoint the king, as he's never heard of a Ventus, with Mickey musing that he understands, and that it was a long shot anyway. Finally, the two nobodies would be brought before Master Yen Sid, who would quickly put Roxas to the test, overseeing his training in the secret forest where time does not exist, while being surprised to see the potential for Axel to wield a keyblade in his own right, that is if he were to reform into Lee. Figuring this is in his and Roxas' best interest, and a way to atone for lying to Roxas for so long, Axel would accept, though before allowing himself to fade away, he would inform Yen Sid and Roxas of where he was split, and will therefore be most likely to reappear, that being Radiant Garden, or as it is now known, Hollow Bastion. Heading off at once, Roxas and Mickey would travel to the depths of Ansem's castle, though to their surprise, Lee would not be here, forcing Roxas to begin traveling between worlds in search of his best friend. During this time, Roxas would also come across Riku, who is still working with Diz and Namine, meaning this encounter would end in another confrontation while Mickey attempts to broker peace between his two friends. Upon hearing what Roxas is doing, Riku would laugh, as it's identical to Sora's journey to find him, with this forcing the blindfolded boy to reconsider the nobody, as he has a lot in common with Sora, even if he is more serious and quiet than the brunette ever was, though this does not mean he will give up on having them reunite. During their separate journeys, Roxas and Riku would each discover some troubling news that somehow the organization is back, though with some different members, namely a lot of guys who look like Xemnas, including the inexplicably revived Ansem Seeker of Darkness who is serving as their de facto leader, and even Xemnas himself back from the dead with no memory of having been destroyed by Roxas and Axel. This would be the true organization, as the destruction of the original one had forced young Xehanort to accelerate his plans, while also presenting a new hurdle. Since Riku has a fragment of Ansem inside him, Master Xehanort cannot reform to lead them until that fragment is released, meaning they must either extract the piece of Ansem, or make do with the version of the old master from before he took possession of Terra. Deeming the former option preferable, as they want the true Master Xehanort to lead the true organization, they begin to target Riku, while giving Roxas an ultimatum, as it is revealed that they captured Lee after he reformed, and intend to make him into a vessel for Xehanort's heart, though they would be willing to release him if Roxas took his place, since he is undeniably a superior asset to their group. A fact we know as in canon young Xehanort states that Roxas was their desired 13th vessel after Riku. Refusing to abandon a friend, Roxas would of course race to where nothing gathers to rescue Lee, or Riku would follow, since if Roxas becomes a vessel for Xehanort, Sora will never wake up. This would be in direct contradiction to Diz and Mickey's advice, since while Roxas' loss would prevent the return of Sora, Riku's loss would guarantee the return of Xehanort. Not caring when his best friend's on the line, Riku would form an uneasy alliance with Roxas, with this being a wise decision, as when the two Keyblade wielders arrive, it would be to the 11 active organization members, having obviously laid this trap, with it quickly becoming clear that even when fighting in tandem like they did against the Neo Shadows, Roxas and Riku are no match for the united power of almost a dozen Xehanorts. Thankfully, this would be when Mickey arrives, using stops to freeze time, though this would be ineffective against young Xehanort, who injures Mickey and battles Riku, while Roxas retrieves Lee and escapes through a corridor of darkness, promising to reunite with the others back at the mysterious tower. Now with Riku on his own, and unable to receive assistance from Dream Eaters like in canon, he would resort to the only trump card he has left to ward off young Xehanort and cover Mickey, that being the removal of his blindfold, though before he can use the power of Ansem, young Xehanort plunges his keyblade into Riku's chest, splitting him into a heartless and nobody, while also allowing the piece of Ansem to be freed, thus reviving Master Xehanort at last. From his position on the ground, Mickey bears witness as Xehanort manifests in full, and reveals his plan to restart the Keyblade War by pitting his 13 Seekers of Darkness against the 7 Guardians of Light, though from the looks of things, the Mouse King is a few Guardians short. Nonetheless, Xehanort orders him to go and gather his other champions, since this clash is destined to occur, so for now, he and his organization will depart, as there is much left to do. Despondently, Mickey would then return to the mysterious tower alone to report to Yen Sid about Xehanort's plans and the loss of Riku, with all being troubled by this. However, ever the optimist, Lee would suggest that if they can find Riku's nobody and his heartless, they could recombine them, with the irony of this situation not being lost on any of them. Subsequently, Mickey is tasked with this, while Lee is to remain here and train. As for Roxas, he is sent on a quest to the Sleeping Worlds to acquire the power of waking, since with that, he may be able to restore Sora without needing to vanish, as right now they need all the allies they can get. With their missions set, the 3 Keyblade wielders get to work, with Lee training in the secret forest, Mickey scouring the realm between light and darkness as this is where a nobody will manifest, and Roxas heading into the realm of sleep to unseal the keyholes. Unfortunately for the latter pair, they are not without opposition, as members of the organization frequently appear to hamper their progress, with it coming to light that they have managed to acquire their final vessel after all, and it is in a sense the one they originally wanted, Kuzia, the nobody of Riku, now devoid of a heart, making him a prime host for Xehanorts. During this time, Mickey also makes contact with Diz and Namine, who are still hidden in Twilight Town, with the king confirming his suspicion that the former is his old friend Ansem the Wise, and recruiting the pair to help in the upcoming Keyblade War. Wanting to atone for his past mistakes, and still being driven by a vengeance towards Xehanort, Ansem agrees, beginning work on something that he believes will be of use down the line. Meanwhile, after several small-scale skirmishes, in which the organization try and fail to capture Roxas by using the Requisite sigil Xemnas placed in his name, the blonde-haired nobody is able to complete his task, though not before battling Kuzia himself in the world that never was, with it being revealed that like him when he was first created, Riku's nobody has no memories of his past life, and so is a willing servant of Xehanort, xehanort, working closely with Ansem Seeker of Darkness. This pair combined did too much for Roxas, who was forced to run back to his allies, though with the information and power he has gathered, he promises the young man who was once his enemy turned ally that he won't leave him in Xehanort's clutches for long. Regrouping once more, Roxas is dispatched to Twilight Town, where he meets Ansem the Wise and Naminé, the former of whom still finds him disdainful by virtue of being a nobody, though having seen his defeat of the original organization, he is at least able to tolerate working with him. Thanks to the power of waking, Roxas is at last able to revive Sora, while having honed her abilities during the intervening time since the Castle Oblivion incident, Naminé is able to more surgically extract what was lost, while leaving Roxas as an independent being who can coexist with Sora. Upon meeting, Roxas is initially somewhat unsure of how to approach Sora, as he is the reason it took so long for the other boy to awaken, and if not for his actions, Riku would be here to greet him. Though warm as ever, Sora treats Roxas as an old friend, smiling that he's glad he got to meet him. Additionally, during this time, Sora is also able to get reacquainted with Naminé, allowing them to develop a genuine friendship that does both their hearts good, even if her presence makes him miss Riku and Kairi all the more. Unfortunately, due to the impending Keyblade War, there is little time for relaxation, and as there are still 3 Guardians short, time is of the essence in rounding out their numbers. Thankfully, Mickey knows of one lost master who is likely to join their cause, that being Aqua, who he sets off to recruit at once, with Roxas tagging along as he can open corridors of darkness, allowing them to reach her more easily. Thanks to Ansem the Wise not being stranded in the realm of darkness, Ansem Seeker of Darkness never came looking for him, meaning he never transformed Aqua into Anti-Aqua, which in turn means this encounter is a piece of cake, as she is more than willing to return to the realm of light now that she is needed, even briefly mistaking Roxas for Ven, before realizing her mistake, and musing that it is about time she wake him up. And just like that, the Guardians of Light know who their 6th member will be, as Aqua, Mickey, Roxas, and even Lee travel to Castle Oblivion, which thanks to Aqua is transformed back into the Land of Departure. This allows them to reach the Chamber of Waking, where Roxas at last returns the heart that has been linked to his and Sora's for so long, thus ending Ven's 11-year coma. While it is a joyous reunion, not everyone is welcome, as having followed them, Vanitas attempts to capture his lost brother, only to be stopped by the combined efforts of the Guardians, who drive him off, before settling in to share the story of what Ven missed. This includes a tearful moment with Aqua in which he promises to have her back this time so they can rescue Terra together, a brief musing that he never would have guessed Lee had the potential to wield the Keyblade, and even a moment of levity in which Ven jokes that Roxas is a nice change of pace, as a brother who doesn't want to kill him, though he needs to change his hair, since it'll be too confusing if there's 2 of them. However, as they will soon learn, there is technically 5, as on top of Vanitas and Sora who stayed behind in Twilight Town, there is also an artificial heart who Naminé sensed while helping Roxas reawaken Sora, as despite having memories, she cannot see them. A notable oddity is memory manipulation is her power. To this end, she has worked tirelessly to coax this heart out of Sora and into a replica body constructed by Diz and a surprise ally in Vexen, who had approached his old mentor after learning about his presence from the organization's prior clashes with Mickey. As a result, the 7th Guardian of Light is none other than a fully actualized Xion, whose revival also facilitates the return of everyone's memories of her. Naturally, this means a heartfelt reunion between her, Roxas, and Lee, as they embrace after so long apart, and promise to get ice cream like the old days. Though first they have one matter to attend to, as thanks to acquiring their last light, it is finally time for the Keyblade War to begin. From here, the early events of the war do tend to start streamlining with canon, except that instead of Sora, it's Roxas, with many of the early battles going the same, including the initial defeat which has to be rewound through abuse of the power of waking, and the return of Terra. The most notable shift occurs during the fight with Saïx and Kuzir, who has replaced Xion, as while at first Roxas fights the entity who was once Riku as he did before, Sora soon steps in, feeling this is his duty, as he requests his nobody focus on Saïx, so he can handle Kuzir. Trusting Sora, Roxas acquiesces, with the brunette initially clashing with his best friend's nobody, though unlike the other fights, he is not trying to win, but instead to touch the memories of Riku buried within him. Thanks to his unique role as the heart who connects those around him, Sora and only Sora is able to achieve this, seeing Kuzir turn on the organization and become a guardian as he always should have been, by manifesting Riku's way to the dawn. The other substantial change is that due to not being present, Kairi is not kidnapped, meaning Xehanort can't provoke Sora into attacking him to forge the Keyblade, meaning the Guardians of Light just win. Since without the Keyblade, Master Xehanort cannot travel through Kingdom Hearts or do his whole thing with Skull-Ed Kylum, and so he is defeated on the mesa where he once stole Terra's body, as Ansem the Wise reveals his secret project, a machine to digitize Kingdom Hearts, so that none can ever attempt to claim its power again. And just like that, the war is over, with the heroes returning to the Destiny Islands to celebrate, though there is one bittersweet note, that being that because it was Roxas who used Chirithy's power to reverse everyone's death at the start of the war, it is he who is banished to the other side. However, as he goes, he has no regrets, calmly stating that he was always meant to fade away as the one who came from nothing, before sharing some last goodbyes, telling Sora and Ven they made good others, acknowledging Kuzia as both a rival and a friend, and finally giving Lee and Gion a smile, as he states there is no one he would rather get ice cream with. Then he vanishes, though one thing that remains is the impact he has made on the hearts of his friends, and as they share a look, they forge an unspoken agreement. They will find a way to get Roxas back. And that's where we'll leave this story. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts, suggestions, or screams of rage in the comments below.